Yes, indeed.
All right, we should be all set.
Good evening, everybody. Today is April 25th, 2022. I'm calling this meeting to order. This is the work session in advance of the council meeting, which starts at 7:30. Today is April 25th. This meeting is being held in conformance with the Open Public Meetings Act. It's being called pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Law. This meeting of April 25th, 2022 was included in a list of meetings. Notice sent to the Huntington County Democrat and Courier News on January 5th, 2022. Posted on the bulletin board at Borough Hall on that date and has remained continuously posted as required. In addition, a copy of this notice is and has been available to the public and is on file in the office of the Borough Clerk. We do have a work session. We have some visitors here this evening. They are joining us via Zoom. And at this point, I'm handing it over to Council Vice President Justin.
Thank you, Mayor. So I had met with Amy from the Prevention Resources and to talk about the stigma-free and mental health. And so I think that this is very important. We also have a resolution today about Flemington Borough being a stigma-free community. And so, so thank you for coming, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for having me, Councilperson Han. Really glad to be here today. My name is Amy Hicks. I am a certified peer recovery specialist with the Open Door Recovery Center, which operates under the umbrella of Prevention Resources, Inc. And here with me today is my the co-CEO of Prevention Resources, Karen Whitico. Hi, Karen. I see you down there.
Everyone. Pleased to be here.
Yeah, we're really great to be here. So I'm also a member of and a volunteer ambassador representing Hunterdon County Stigma-Free Task Force, which is headed by Stacy Becker, who is the Assistant Mental Health Administrator and the A&D Director. Stacy's unfortunately unable to be here tonight, but wishes everyone well. Our purpose as a task force, members and ambassadors, is to raise awareness regarding the deleterious effects of stigma on those who suffer from mental health and substance abuse disorders, while advocating for the adoption of resolutions by local municipalities pledging themselves to efforts to reduce stigma in their communities in like a tangible way. And a few weeks ago, I had the pleasure of meeting personally with Councilperson Jess Hand, who extended an invitation to this working session. So I'm very excited to be here tonight. So I guess I just wanted to talk a little bit about why I think folks should care about stigma as an issue. So stigma is a really common obstacle that the individual who seeks treatment for a mental health or substance use disorder might face on the road to recovery. It's a negative attitude against someone based on a distinguishing characteristic such as gender, sexuality, race, mental illness, a health condition, or a disability. And for the purposes of, discussing today, I'd like to specifically discuss stigma as it relates to people experiencing mental health and substance use disorders. According to information collected by the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, 21% of adults aged 18 and older experienced a mental, emotional, or behavioral disorder within the past year. So while stigma is a negative perception or pattern of attitudes, it can also translate into negative actions in the form of discrimination. The Association for Psychological Science posits that of the over 60 million Americans who are thought to experience mental illness in a given year, about 40% either do not receive care or do not complete their treatment regimen. So while stigma is a social phenomenon because it comes from the way people perceive other people or the way they think about themselves, you might be relieved to know that there's also a social cure. Communities can and should resolve to work together to help erase stigma. And it's our hope that this meeting will help provide the Flemington Town Council with some tangible next steps in working to eliminate stigma as a community. So just a little background on the Stigma-Free Task Force and the work that we've been doing. In the pursuit of the eradication of stigma, each county in New Jersey has been encouraged to start a stigma-free task force. The purpose of Hunterdon County's existing stigma-free task force, which was headed by Stacy Becker, is to encourage and assist you and your municipality in adopting and maintaining a stigma-free initiative that targets the needs of your community. While there's no one right way to be stigma-free, we really encourage you to look at the provided stigma-free toolkit, which I passed on to Councilperson Hand, and I can email to anyone who doesn't have a copy, for ideas and resources on organizing stigma-free events and committees, providing access to stigma-free treatment, and adopting stigma-free language. We hope that through sustained collaborative effort, each municipality in Hunterdon will eventually become stigma-free, as research supports the use of social marketing campaigns in generating documented reductions in stigma among members of the general public, while also increasing the percentage of individuals with mental illness who receive treatment. Thus, combating stigma represents a real investment into public health and welfare. So I'm just going to pull up, hopefully am I able to share my screen on this as a panelist? Is that okay?
Yeah, hang on one second. We just need
Okay.
your co-host to make that happen, Amy.
All right, sorry about that.
Okay.
Oh my God, I don't want to change her to an attendee. Shit. Sorry. It's not giving me the option of letting her share her screen. I don't know if that's because I'm the co-host and not the, and maybe you need to use the, Betsy, maybe you need to use the remote because you're the host on that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that should do it.
You should be good now, Amy.
Oh, you're muted, Amy.
You're muted, Amy.
Oh, thank you so much.
Hi.
All right, let me make sure I can figure out the share screen. There we go. All right. So this is a copy of just kind of a boilerplate stigma-free resolution, what this would look like. This is the one that Hunterdon passed as a county in 2015. The freeholders adopted it. So this is kind of just if Flemington wanted to adopt something, this is, you know, already in place. The town of Clinton and Lambertville are also stigma-free communities, but I personally think having Flemington, which is the county seat, would send a really, really, it would be a really powerful message, I think, to have Flemington also adopt this, you know, kind of be trailblazers for the rest of the county. So I know Jess also has a copy of this. Again, this comes from a stigma-free toolkit that I am also able to send out to anyone who is interested. So I will stop sharing that. We also have, you know, we have letters that we're able to provide. We have posters and stickers. Stacy Becker told me today they're running out of stickers, so we'll get more made up. They're awesome, you know, stuff that we can help campaign with. And I guess in terms of actionable items, I think it would be absolutely lovely if the town council wanted to adopt the resolution, and then the next thing, at least on my mind, would be then what? Because it's one thing to declare a town or a municipality stigma-free and another to live as a stigma-free community. And as a liaison from the Stigma-Free Task Force and a person who's both deeply personally and professionally invested in ending the harm inflicted by stigma, it's important to me that our communities both adopt resolutions and act on them. So the Open Door Recovery Center would love to collaborate with the Flemington community in identifying and planning stigma-free activities, events, and educational opportunities, because every community member is and should be a key stakeholder in the fight against stigma. And I'm just going to pull once again from this page because they have some just ideas for potential stigma-free activities if anyone's interested in taking a look. I can still share my screen. That's lovely. So again, these are just ideas, but the open door is right down the street from you guys. We would love to work in any capacity, prevention resources with planning and holding stigma-free events. We have a lovely center that has, our grand opening tomorrow, big ribbon and scissors and all. So it's really in our interest, in our mission to work in ending stigma and collaborating in any kind of stigma-free events. So again, this is just stuff to consider, involving all members of the community, because like I said before, it really it's one thing to pass the resolution. It's a lovely starting point, but it's another thing to live as a stigma-free community. And then I just wanted to speak a little bit about some of the work we do at the Open Door. So the Open Door Recovery Center is a peer-run, grant-funded community center for people who are struggling with problematic substance use of any kind, and we're a division of prevention resources. The Open Door strives to provide a safe, inclusive, and welcoming environment for people seeking recovery, whatever recovery may mean to them personally. So we have multiple pathways to recovery. It's not just the traditional 12-step AA/NA, which is, I think, what a lot of people think of when they think of recovery from substance use disorder. So through recovery coaching, peer support, and wellness planning, we empower recoverees to take charge of their relationships, experiences, and their lives. And we also function as resource brokers, connecting recoverees to local services such as counseling, financial assistance, family and individual support, educational offerings, and sober recreational activities. And just a little bit about peer support, because I think it's a really, at least for me, really important part of my personal recovery journey. And it's a really pivotal part of what we do at the Open Door. Peer support is when people who have lived experience with problematic substance use and recovery provide knowledge, emotional and social support, and practical resources to those struggling with problematic substance use or their loved ones. And the foundational philosophy of peer support is really that it helps to eliminate a lot of the common barriers to treatment by eliminating that off-site and negative stigma associated with seeking help, because the people who are providing the support also have the lived experience with substance use disorder. So you're not going to someone who has no idea what you're talking about when you say, I can't put down the substance that I'm struggling with. And also all of our peer support services are free of charge, which I think that's also another barrier that a lot of people struggle with. So, I mean, that's really all I had to say. I don't know if Karen has anything to add, but we would, if she does, Karen, it's all you. And if not, we'd love to open the floor to any questions.
I mean, I think Amy did a spectacular job. All I can say is I think that there's a real shift in our country happening with stigma-free communities. And I really am hoping that we can be at the forefront of that and have more and more municipalities in our great county follow that.
Yeah, thank you both. Yeah, we do have a resolution on the agenda tonight, and I can pass out the toolkit to other council members as well. Yeah, I mean, your mental health and being stigma-free is very important to me. I have someone in my family who I didn't know had mental health issues until I was an adult. It was just no one talked about it, and I think we've just started telling other people in the family about it like in the past 5 years. So yeah, I think that person who I won't out because that's not it's not my life, but I think she could have had an easier time if she could have been open and it wasn't, a hush thing. So thank you for coming tonight, and thank you for doing this very important work. And I'm happy to work together with you guys on this.
That's great. Great news. And I do want to extend our invitation. I know we sent an invitation. Our center open house is tomorrow night, 5 to 7 at 5 East Main Street. You can just stop by if you want to see all the good work we do there. I hope you can stop by.
I should be able to, I work until 6:30ish, but I'll try to stop by.
Well, we'll be there. Thank you. All right. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Any questions for the guests?
Any questions? All right.
Thank you for the good work you're doing. It's important work, and we see you, we hear you, and we appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a great night. Take
Thank you
care.
so much.
Okay, bye now. Bye.
Do we have anything else anybody wants to bring up during the work session? So we do have at the next one, we have something coming up from the American Jewish Committee. They wanted to coming in to talk about increase in anti-Semitism attacks, both locally and nationwide. So they'll be in at the next council meeting. And then in May, we have
Well, yeah, that's the May 9th, and then the May 20,
Mayor Paul Muir from Bethlehem.
May
will
23rd,
be
yeah.
here.
That's the Hunterdon County Governing Officers Association.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who unfortunately meets the same night as our planning board.
Ah. Well, this planning board meets the same night as our council, so he's.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and adjourn. If you would pause, and we'll be back at 7:30. Good evening, everybody. Just give us one moment here to. How come I can't get Leslie in here as
I'll do it. She should be on her way to becoming a panelist.
what?
She should be becoming a panelist now.
Okay, there we are. Okay, thank you, everybody. Today is April 25th, 2022. This is the regular meeting of the Mayor and Common Council, Borough of Flemington. This meeting is being called pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Law. This meeting of April 25th, 2022 was included in a list of meetings notice sent to the Hunterdon County Democrat and Courier News on January 5th, 2022, posted on the bulletin board at Borough Hall on that date, and has remained continuously posted as required. In addition, a copy of this notice is and has been available to the public and is on file in the office of the Borough Clerk. Earlier this evening, we had a work session. We had a presentation by the Prevention Resources regarding the Open Door Recovery Center. And if you're interested in that, you can learn more. I'll leave that to you. They have their open house coming up, and it'll be posted on the YouTube channel as well. If we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, as you're able. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Natalie, fill the roll.
Mayor Driver,
Here.
Ms. Hand,
Here.
Mr. Johnston,
Here.
Mr. Long,
Here.
Mr. Parker,
Here.
Ms. Rosetti,
Here.
Ms. Tilly.
And I'm here.
We're all here.
Okay, so our borough attorney, Tara St. Angelo, is on holiday. We have her colleague, Leslie Curry. Here joining us. She's on Zoom. Nice to see you. I know you've had a very long day based on a couple of emails we had with each other, so I do appreciate you being here.
Oh, anytime.
Constant.
Pleasure.
I personally have a very short report this evening. There was a Courthouse Square meeting with folks from the redevelopment committee, the redeveloper, the engineering personnel from both the borough and the developer. Kind of we're going into the next stage, as you may have noticed today. The final building on that site that needed to come down that occurred today. They are now cleaning up the debris and will be quickly moving on to getting the footings dug and this footing set. I don't know how that happens. I know neighbors around there. I don't know how noisy digging footings is, but I suspect when they get into bedrock, it's pretty noisy. I think y'all know, if you live nearby, you know how to get a hold of the project manager who's out there, the site supervisor, and I would encourage you that if they start too early with that noisiness, that you reach out to them and get them to do it. And you can always reach out to me and I'll call them and tell them that you can't do it before 7 a.m. But when you see the size of that drill, it's like huge and it's tall, and so they're gonna be going through there. So I've been asked by a couple of residents about road construction, Hopewell Avenue and Dewey are up, and we are running in, the bids have been awarded. We're running in, the contractors running into some horrible supply chain issues with the pipes. And we really don't want to be tearing open the streets and then having no work done for however long until they get the additional pipes in. As you know, we are a complete streets community, so when we pave a road, we not only pave it, but we replace what's underneath that road. And those pipes are having some delays. I'm going to be seeing the contractor this week, I think. And so I'll be nudging him as well to, try and get moving on that. But yes, I am aware and I am anxious to see those roads get fixed as well. There's a bunch of other roads too that we're working on, still some engineering design, Main Street, Main and Church. Bloomfield's on tap to get done, but obviously we don't want to be doing Bloomfield until the construction is done. So there's a whole lot of balls up in the air on that on road construction, but it is happening. I promise it's happening. Liberty Village Committee will be meeting again this week. Hopefully we'll be finishing up the RDA. The developers sent back some changes to the RDA. My initial read of it, it looks okay. And hopefully once the Liberty Village Committee is okay with it, it'll then be coming on to council as well. Hopefully that'll be soonish. Hopefully it'll still be spring on the calendar when that happens. And finally, there is mulch available. Mike Campion did want me to let people know the mulch is there. It's free delivery like it is every year, but he's not real pleased with the mulch, and he does not recommend it be used to make your garden beds pretty, but it can make a nice space under prettier mulch. So you can maybe save a little bit of money that way. The one caveat on that, if we deliver the mulch to your driveway, it's your mulch. We're not coming back for it if you decide the quality is not what you want. So buyer beware on that, because once it's in your driveway, you have it. And that's all I have on my report. I'm going to start down here at the left with Councilman Johnston tonight.
Hello, everybody. I don't have much. I just wanted to reiterate the Flemington House Museum is having an open house May 7th between 1 and 4. Please stop by. They have potted plants, pansies and marigolds. That's all. Thank you.
Is there a shade tree event this week? Or is that next week, the tree planting?
I think that's next week.
Okay,
I've been reaching.
okay, good enough. Thanks. I know it's on email.
I think we have it on the agenda.
Yeah,
for
we did.
tonight.
Next up is Council Vice President Just Hands.
Thank you, Mayor. Like the mayor mentioned, we had a work session from Prevention Resource on being a stigma-free community. And they are having an event, an open house tomorrow from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. at 5 East Main Street. So please come out and see what they're all about. Mental health is just as important as physical health, and we need to continue to work on breaking down barriers so everyone can have access to proper mental health care. This Sunday is the townwide cleanup at 2 p.m. this Sunday, May 1st. I can't believe it's May already, but anyway, please come to the DPW garage behind T-Berry's Carriage House. Gloves, trash bags, and snacks will be provided. The next Environmental Commission meeting is at 7 p.m. on Monday, May 16th. This meeting will be virtual. If you're interested in joining, you can email me at jhand@historicflemington.com. And that's it for me.
Thank you. Next up is Council President Jeremy Long.
Good evening, folks. Police Department, just some numbers, the March numbers I have, and always as a point of comparison, I present the previous month, just a few things. So in February, there were 176 motor vehicle summonses. In March, there were 229. There were 155 warnings given in February versus 152 in March. CAD incidents. The CAD, when I say CAD incident, I mean that's the computer aided dispatch. That's that system that's in the police car. Everything goes through there. So we had numbers of incidences in February, 3,768 came in. In March, 3,338, slightly less. There were 20 investigations in February. And last month, there were 36. Motor vehicle crashes, there were 28 in February and 32 in March. Specifically, we've had a number of shopliftings and thefts in town. And if any store in the community wishes to have the police department come into their store to talk with their employees and educate them on thefts and shoplifting, the police department will be happy to assist. Also, the police department wants folks to know they'd be happy to assist in any way with home safety issues, any questions around security systems and whatnot. The department's more than willing to help out there. Unfortunately, there were, I'm reporting this because the police department wants everyone to know, but unfortunately, there were 2 overdoses in town where Narcan was deployed. With that said, on April 30th, they're from 10 a.m. to 2 at the police station. They'll be participating in a drug enforcement agency national take back. They'll take back unwanted or used medication, except needles, liquids, and inhalers. We had another car burglary in the area of Little Brothers on Church Street. Folks are advised not to leave valuables in plain view and lock your car doors. And don't leave your car outside of a store running. It seems to be a popular thing that's happening statewide. Regarding the loud exhaust on vehicles, the departments have stopped well over 20 vehicles with that issue and have given a number of summonses and warnings. People are encouraged to report anything that looks suspicious or out of place. If you see something, feel free to contact the department. And then I just want to thank Corporal Louis Harivic and Officer Giselle Aquino for letting me tag along with them Wednesday night. I did a ride along of sorts, and it was very official. Signed the official documentation. I had to wear a standard issue bulletproof vest on my 3-hour tour of what goes on in a part of a police experience, just a standard night. And I saw a lot, and I really appreciate the chief allowing me to do that. And again, these 2 officers allowing me to kind of watch them do their job. It was enlightening. And it was very interesting to see nonetheless. So thanks again for that. FCP news, all events are happening through the end of the year and have been added to the website. They will be updating the Facebook page with the events there as well. FCP has given 11 event grants for a total of $20,000 out this year to our local businesses. This weekend is it's the 100 Art Tour. They'll have 4 galleries participating on Stangl and 2 on Main Street on Saturday, and that's between 9 and 5. In addition, this weekend is the Borough-wide yard sale on Saturday and Sunday, so get your stuff out there. It's always nice to have that happening again. Events are planned for Main Street on May 26th and Queen for a Night on June 30th. Beautification news, the flowers will arrive in June for hanging baskets and pots. The FCP has begun the process of resurfacing the parking signs in traditional blue and green that we saw here last time we met to be more universally recognized. Grants through the NPP grant. The FCP will make small grants available to the South End District homeowners for paint and small improvements such as masonry and curb appeal. There will be a short application to fill out, and grants will be given based on the need for improvement and on first come, first served basis. They will also be posting a request for proposals for murals and public art to be situated on designated commercial or nonprofit spaces in the South End in May. They will seek out local residents to do the work, and will have, local artists who could also be local residents, who will have and there will be an advisory committee process to select mural artists and content. Businesses, as far as businesses are, looking like we have some new businesses opening this month. There's been increased inquiries for space. And just a reminder, on May 4th, the single-use ban bag starts. So consider bringing you reusable bags with you as you shop. And civic engagement real quick, I'm still working on that stuff. Looking at the summer, kind of lining up a lot more of the details. Things are, being put into place, but I recently was informed of New Jersey Engage. And I'll just tell you what that is real quick. Jersey Civic Engage is a multifaceted, nonpartisan initiative of the New Jersey Secretary of State's office. Its mission is to foster ongoing civic engagement in communities throughout New Jersey because a healthy democracy needs active and engaged citizens. When people have a stake in their communities, they are more likely to involve others and have a reason to vote. Its programs are aimed at facilitating and encouraging collaborative civic engagement throughout the state with a particular focus on youth. Its goal is to provide information and tools to increase voter and civic participation by everyday New Jerseyans across and among our diverse communities. So when I read that, I said, boy, that sounds just right up our alley. So that's something that I'm gonna be following up on, of course. Like I said, I've just kind of gotten involved in that and we'll see where that goes, but I'll have more information. Any residents want to get involved in this sort of thing, help me out. I do have a couple people who've already put their names before. So anybody who wants to, just you can email me, jlong@historicflemington.com, or give me a call 609-608-2763. I'll add you to the list, and that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Councilor Quintilly.
I just want to say it's good to be back at a council meeting. I'm tired of training, but I want to give an official welcome to Tony Parker. I had the pleasure of meeting with him prior to him being elected onto council, and I thoroughly look forward to working with you this year and accomplishing great things in Flemington Borough.
Thank you.
Even though I wasn't here at council meetings, I did have rescue squad meetings, we had DPW meetings. Unfortunately, I did miss the last 2 HPC meetings because they were on Wednesday night when my CERT training was. But I know they are gearing up for the house tour to make a comeback in 2023. Fireworks are back on for this year, 2022 on July 3rd with a rain date, I believe, of the 5th. We've had a few Liberty Village redevelopment meetings. I've had some fire officer meetings, and thank you to everyone that supported the fire department with purchasing the flowers from the flower sale. As I said, I did have 13 CERT meetings, with the last CERT meeting being this coming Saturday, April 30th. It's an 8-hour training, so kind of looking forward to it being over, but I'm not looking forward to spending 8 hours on Saturday. As everybody else has mentioned, the townwide yard sale is Saturday, this weekend, Saturday, April 30th, and Sunday, May 1st. And I would just like to reiterate too, that the Open Door Recovery Center is located in the Family Harvest Building. Their address is 5 East Main Street. Please use their services if you need them. And that is it for me.
That's it. Doing cleanup duty is Councilman Tony Parker, who has not yet been giving any assignments yet, because he's been out of town and I had surgery and we haven't had a chance to really meet, so.
Yep, that'll happen. It'll happen.
You don't have a report on your staff.
Thank you for the welcome.
And Liz, now we go to Liz. Liz, thank you, Liz. Sorry, I'm going down a line here. You're out of order on me, Liz.
No problem. I'm hiding over here. Thank you, Mayor. I'm short and sweet today. As Jess mentioned, we're gearing up for Community Cleanup Day this coming Sunday, May 1st. 2 p.m. a meeting at the DPW building and behind the carriage at T-Berry's kind of area. We're just working on securing some refreshments. The weather looks great as of right now, mid-60s. So we do look forward to getting as many volunteers together, cleaning up town and, you know, just getting to know each other a little bit better around town. I had one community member reach out to me about an area they've been trying to clean up on their own. So we're going to, Jess and I will be meeting Wednesday evening just to go over some finalizing details and see if we can try to get some volunteers to that area in particular, but looking forward to that. So that's all I've got for tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Liz. Appreciate it. That takes us to our first public comment session. If you are a member of the public and would like to speak, you can raise your hand by clicking on the raise hand icon. It's either at the bottom of your screen or top of your screen, depending upon your operating system. I do not see anybody who is in on the phone, so we don't have to get into those details. Seeing none, we'll move on. That brings us to approval of the minutes. If we could have a motion to approve the minutes of the April 11th, 2022 regular council meeting.
Well, we'll move.
Handle second.
Any discussion, changes? comments? Sally, go ahead and call the vote.
Okay, Ms. Hand,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly,
I'm gonna abstain. I did read them, but I wasn't here, so.
Next up is a motion to approve the minutes of the April 11, 2022 executive session.
Long move.
Handle second.
okay, Ms. Hand,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly,
I'll abstain
say it
again.
again.
Same reason.
Okay, they're approved.
Okay, that brings us to our consent agenda. If there's nothing that anyone wants to move out, if I could have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Handle move.
Tilly will second.
Do you want to call the vote on that?
Yeah, Ms. Hand,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly.
Yes.
All right, that's approved.
That brings us to our regular agenda. First up is the second reading, ordinance 2022-5, calendar year 2022 ordinance to exceed the municipal budget cost of living allowance and to establish a cap bank when the cost of living allowance is equal to or less than 2.5%, and that's permitted by New Jersey state statute. If we could have a motion to open the public hearing.
Tilly will move.
Handle second.
Public hearing is now open. If you'd like to make, oh, you have to vote.
Sorry. All those in favor of opening the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed to opening the public hearing, say no. Any abstentions? Okay, the public hearing is open at 7:51 PM.
If you have a comment on the ordinance, you can raise your hand. Can you make that comment? Just a moment while that clock ticks loudly. Just notice how loud the ticking on that clock was. Probably have noticed in the past. I'm not seeing any public comments, so if we could have a motion to close the public hearing.
Tilly will move.
Handle second.
Yeah, all those in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say no. Any abstentions? Okay, the public hearing is closed at 7:52 PM.
If we could have a motion to adopt on second reading ordinance 2022-5, ordinance to exceed the municipal budget cost of living allowance and to establish a cap bank when the cost of living allowance is equal to or less than 2.5% as permitted under state statute.
Long move.
Handle second.
Is there any discussion? Sally, go ahead and call the vote.
Ms. Hand,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly.
Yes.
All right, that's approved.
Thank you. And this is, goes along with our budgetary stuff, just as a reminder, the public hearing for the budget itself will be at the next council meeting on May 9th.
Mhm, mhm.
Next up is second reading ordinance 2022-6, amending section 7-4.2 of the code of the Borough of Flemington regarding parking during snow emergencies. Second reading, so it is a public hearing. If we could have a motion to open the public hearing.
Tilly will move.
Long second.
All those in favor of opening the public hearing, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed, say no. Any abstentions? Okay, the public hearing is open at 7:53 PM.
You have a comment, comment? You can raise your hand using the raise hand icon on your screen. You can step up to the microphone. Seeing none, we have a motion to close the public hearing.
Tilly will move.
Lois.
second. Oh, sorry. Handle second.
Just a second. Okay, all those in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Aye,
And
sorry.
anyone not wanting to close the public hearing, say no. Any abstentions? Okay, the public hearing is closed at 7:54 PM. I don't know a whole lot about these things.
Hang on one moment, we're just having a technical issue.
So you're trying to get into the borough Wi-Fi?
Yeah.
Oh, Malik, I think I was one number off, what I gave you.
Oh, yeah. All right, let me try that.
Sorry. So was I when I gave it to
It should be, oh, I know.
All right, I have to go to that screen.
We can have a motion to adopt on second reading ordinance 2022-6, amending section 7-4.2 of the code of the Borough of Flemington regarding parking during snow emergencies. We have a motion to adopt.
Long move.
Handle second.
So what this is, it's just basically some language cleanup, some modernization of language cleanup. There were a couple of things unclear. It also establishes procedure as to how no parking goes into effect. Essentially, as the forecast is being watched, Office of Emergency Management and Public Works keep a very close eye on it, somewhere maybe 9 to 12 hours, depending upon the timing of the storm, before it's expected. We have a call, myself, OEM and Public Works, and say, do we need to ticket? And if there's gonna be snow sticking to the roads, generally the answer is yes. I will point out that even sometimes when the roads aren't sticking, like, if we expect really bad freezing, we don't want that slush to freeze up, so that's another issue why you might see ticketing, and that's all an effort really just to get people to get their cars off the street. Nobody likes giving out tickets. This borough does not like giving out tickets for this, but we have to make sure the roads get cleared. So this just cleans up that ordinance a little bit. And I'd like to thank Jeremy and Tara for working on that. Any other comments, questions?
No.
Sally, go ahead and call the vote.
Okay, Ms. Hand,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly.
Yes.
All right, that's adopted.
Next up is resolution 2022-113. This is reappointing the interim municipal court administrator for a second one-year term. We have a motion.
Tilly will move.
Handle second.
Any discussion?
I'm just trying to figure out what this is, I'm sorry. Can you work with me on this?
Sure.
So there's a person that's serving now.
Olivia Barrick was appointed the interim court administrator a year ago. And she's interim because she does not have her certification as a court administrator yet. She's working on that process. And while she's working on that process, council has the authority to reappoint her annually. And for like 3 or 4 years until she gets her certification.
How long does it take to get a certification?
She's been through she's been through the classes and she's working on her certification project, which just got approved by the court administrative offices. So she's hoping to have that finished up. She's hoping by the end of the year. She got delayed a little bit when there was some office staffing changes in the middle of this past year. So that kind of took over her time, but she's making good progress and the judge is thrilled with her.
If we could call the vote on that.
Sure. Ms. Hand,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly.
Yes.
Alrighty,
Next up is resolution 2022-114, authorizing the closure of Main Street between Bloomfield Avenue and Kathmandu Streets on May 26, 2022, from 5 PM to 8 PM for a Thursday night lights event. Could I have a motion?
Kendall move.
Tilly will second.
Any discussion?
I'm excited that Thursday Night Lights are back.
Who's the band?
It's a big secret.
It's Tiger Man.
I was hoping it was the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? That is not, the Rolling Stones are not coming to Main Street. Just for the record, Ricky, the Rolling Stones are not coming to Main Street.
You'll need to show up at 5 PM to see who it is.
We could call the vote on that.
Ms. Hand,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker.
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly.
Yes.
All right, that's approved.
Next up is resolution 2022-115, authorizing fireworks on July 3rd, 2022 with a rain date, July 5th, 2022. It authorizes road closures, paying for it. There is a small price increase this year and waiving the permit fee. If we could have a motion.
Oh, Tilly will move this one.
I'll go second.
So fireworks are back. We're looking forward to it. There is a slight price increase. As you may recall, the past 2 years, we've had money sitting with the fireworks vendor, because 2 years ago, we had to cancel it due to COVID. Last year, we had to cancel it due to construction at the school. So the vendor still has this money, but fireworks have gone up in price, and so there is a $3,000 increase on that. So instead of $15,000, it is an $18,000 event. But it'll be fun to have the fireworks back. Any other questions, comments? Go ahead and call that vote, Sally.
Ms. Hand,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly.
Yes.
All right, we're having fireworks.
Woo-hoo.
Next up is resolution 2022-116. This is authorizing the closure of Main Street between William and Mine on June 30th, 2022 from 4 PM to 9 PM for a Queen for the Night event. What if somebody wants to be king for the night?
Out of luck.
What's our mother about?
I don't know.
Do we have a motion?
Long move.
Kendall second.
Any discussion other than what I put out there already?
Robin, would you be able to explain a little bit more about? No? Okay.
Queens only, that's all.
But is this like is it like a voting thing with
That's
like people, yeah, you gotta give me a little bit.
I think it's a lot of vendors that are
It's
showing
vendors
up.
trying to sell.
And it's like.
Like a shopping event.
Oh,
Yeah.
got it.
It's like a
Okay, well, that
ladies'
makes
night
sense.
out, but we
Yeah.
prefer to call it them queens.
Okay.
They are queens, whoever they are.
So it's a shopping type of.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's a business oriented shopping event with progressive shopping in all of our mostly clothing and retail shops.
Is it only vendors that are in Flemington or is it
Oh.
outside vendors as well?
We do allow outside vendors, but they have to pay.
No, I understand, but
It's set
there's
up
still
around
though.
William Street and
Local-
Line Street, that like section there.
Local businesses don't have to pay to participate, but outside vendors can come if they pay to participate, so.
And so how do outside vendors know about it? I'm just curious.
Hopefully they're all listening tonight. And then we post it on various shopping pages. But mostly it's to provide attention to our local businesses. That's the goal.
Oh, okay, so, okay, got it. So it's really just to focus on local.
And this year, there's always a huge charitable component.
Mhm.
And they do raise thousands of dollars for charity, and this year the charity is Ukraine, so I think it's Save the Children or one of those charities, so.
Thank you.
Nice.
And for those who are watching at home, that was Robin Lapidus, the director of the FCP, who you heard explain.
Thank you.
So if you could call the vote then?
Ms. Hand,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly?
Yes.
All right, that's approved.
Okay, next up is resolution 2022-17. This is authorizing the hiring of Kyle Rudgers.
That's right.
To administer the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs Neighborhood Preservation Program grant received by Flemington Borough. This will also include a short interview component once the resolution is on the table. If we could have a motion.
On the move.
Tilly will second.
Okay. the motion's
Okay,
on the
and
floor.
could you, Kyle, come on up
Oh, I will.
and promote him, please? You may not actually have to. Because we can see him on camera from the side from this camera.
Well, I can join as a panelist. I've been promoted.
I did
Okay.
promote you, so
I can
hopefully.
join as a panelist just to be.
And and don't unmute because the audio comes through that big microphone.
All right.
Well, maybe I should turn that big microphone.
All right.
So I'm gonna recognize Kyle Rogers, who is here. The DCA grant, the Neighborhood Preservation Program grant, it's interesting. It pays for somebody to administer the grant. And the grant is being handled by the FCP, but it's the borough's grant, so we have to have a role in hiring you to a certain extent. And so we appreciate you coming here.
It's my pleasure.
And I understand you're a somewhat new borough resident.
That's right. We just moved here at the end of August. We're
Wanna put his
actually.
camera on? Thank you, you can keep talking.
Sure.
Sorry.
It's the first one of these I've been to, so I'm getting used to this. I'm getting used to the technology. I should have known that was the.
There you go.
Get that.
Sorry.
Fantastic.
Excellent, thank you.
We just moved to a house up on East Main Street, just up the street from actually the recovery center. Which we walk past all the time with our dogs and our children as we walk down to Main Street, where we have the best bagels I think I've ever had, and just, when we drove up Main Street coming in to look at the houses, I immediately fell in love because the idea of a small town with a Main Street, I've never lived on a main street before, have a huge amount of appeal. And, getting to know our neighbors and things like that and getting to know the borough has been a real pleasure for us. So to be able to have a role in enhancing the borough, whether it's through working with the businesses or working with the businesses and therefore working with the citizenry, is just, I would relish that opportunity. So that's really what I'm looking for. So.
So can you, I'm looking at your resume. I don't need you to go through all 3 pages of it. But could you please summarize your background?
Sure.
And what makes you the ideal candidate for this job?
Sure. Well, and I have copies of my resume with me if anybody would like one. But my background is very largely in performing arts production. That's may seem to be a little bit of an odd fit, but the thing is, I'm a relationship manager, and I think that this role calls for a great deal of that. Being personable and being pleasant with people, it helps me get my job done all the time. Part of what I have done we usually say that we have the best on-time delivery of any industry. Because as we say, when the curtain goes up at 8 o'clock, the audience is there with their tickets, you got them ready to go. Transferring those skills and that kind of on-time attitude makes me a good candidate for this kind of thing as well. As Robin said, the event schedule has been, my turn off.
I think you're good.
Oh, good. Just tell. The event schedule's been posted, so we know that we have these goals in mind, and we have, I have these visions in mind of how to make sure I could get the help we need, get the people we need, knowing how to talk to people and convince them to help. These are the kinds of things that I bring with me from my career and from my experience, and being able to share it with the town that I've kind of fallen head over heels over, is being able to apply those skills to that is be a wonderful thing for me to do as well. I also have experience talking with all levels of people, from presidents of universities to the greenest young person who's just ready to give everything a try. Being able to share information in such a way that anybody can understand, or my audience, the audience I'm talking to, can understand what it is I'm trying to share. So these are the things that I think make me the candidate that I think that this position deserves and could use.
Anyone have any questions before I jump into the next one? So I'm sorry, so what brought you to Flemington? Why did you drive down Main Street in Flemington and fall in love with us?
We moved to New Jersey for a job that didn't work out.
Okay.
But I could lament that was the case, or I could celebrate the fact that we found a place to live that my entire family feels extremely comfortable and happy in. I've lived in big cities and big areas my entire life, and to be able to live in a place where I know people and where people can know me is a huge improvement over the lifestyle of always rushing and getting in the car, and you always have to drive places and you can't walk anywhere, and that doesn't hold any appeal to me anymore. So I guess I kind of was born a country mouse who's lived in the city my whole life, and now I'm actually have a chance to live in a little bit more of a country setting.
So I'm impressed with the performing arts stuff. I'm impressed with your show starts at 6. I worked in the news business for a long time.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree.
A few decades, and used to have to explain to young producers, 6 o'clock comes at the same time every day.
That's right. That's right.
No getting around it.
That's right.
So with all these great skills that you have, and I do think there's great skills, what are some of the things that frustrate you? Work-wise.
Work-wise. An inability, one of the things that really frustrates me is sometimes it can be difficult when there's an inability to have a conversation. It's not that people aren't listening, but it's that people have an agenda that they want to work through, rather than try and address what may be the issue that is currently pending on the table. I go into these conversations always saying, what do we want? What is the goal? What do we want the end results to be? And then we work backwards from there. Because if your end result is to be X, talking about LMNOP is not as valuable as talking about what's going to get us to X. That's not to say LMNOP isn't valid. Let's deal with this first, and then let's talk about the other things. And following through on that. Trying to engage the people I'm talking with in the conversation. That to me, that's one of those things that I think I really do bring to the table, because sometimes you have to solve problems that people can't articulate, and being able to help articulate them to try and get to the core of the issue is something I do on a regular basis.
Can I ask a question? So can you give me an example of that situation? Like,
Sure.
Something that's happened.
Sure.
I'm trying to key in on what you're saying.
All right. Many years ago, when I was working on an opera, I was working with a scenic designer who was not particularly well liked by other people. I had got along with him fine. He needed an assistant. He was busy. He needed an assistant. So when he called me on the phone to talk about needing an assistant, for 45 minutes, he talked to me about why people don't like him and why he doesn't like people and that sort of thing. I listened to him, I acknowledged what he was saying, and then we got to the crux of the matter, which was needing to get him an assistant. I got his criteria and then worked within the organization I was in to get him that assistant. We addressed the other issues, particularly the issues of him and other folks not getting along. I would address those over the course of the next several weeks. It's not something that can automatically be changed, but letting somebody get things off their chest but still getting to the crux of the issue. That's kind of what that situation was like, and that's kind of the situation I'm talking about.
And so conversely, the people who were complaining or that said that so how did, because there's a bridge that you have to, that you're kind of closing, right? So this person's saying this, my perception is my reality. If it's true to me, it's true to me, whether it's true or not, it's still true to me. So it's their perception, it's this perception. So how did you bring those together? Because I think this is a really interesting challenge. Because I think it's an interesting challenge because it is a small town, right? Well, I just know my experiences in a small town.
It's interesting to use the bridge analogy. It's like you have the person over here who's complaining about the people over there. I see myself as the bridge. I usually call myself a conduit. Information, tasks, money, whatever it needs to flow, it can flow through me. It makes me very accountable. I have to make sure that I'm accountable to everybody that I'm working with, which isn't usually an issue for me because accountability is, I'm very keen on accountability. But I try and serve as that bridge. I try and serve as the gap. We all had a common goal. Let's get this opera done. Everybody getting mad at each other does not further that goal. So I can try and help be the bridge to that ultimate goal, to the ultimate resolution, which is the 8 o'clock start time on Friday night. You got to get the show open. So let's make sure everybody can sort of collaborate on the same page. And whether it's phone calls or meetings or hallway conversations or stopping by someone's office, those sorts of things, whatever I can do to be that bridge, to be that conduit, so that I can share what I learned from this person with other groups of people, that's something that I see my role in. And the way that this particular position with the partnership is sort of built, I can sort of see myself as that, in that role as well, as somebody who can sort of be a conduit between businesses and FCP and businesses and the council, businesses to other businesses. One of the things that appeals to me greatly is to serve my community in that way, to get to know the people who are here, to have them get to know me, and to really start to feel comfortable, helping everybody feel comfortable with the common goal of the success of the borough.
Thank you.
Sure.
So I have a follow-up question on that.
Yeah.
This resolution, as we all know, resolutions are good for the current calendar year. So what are the terms of this resolution? Is it, and you will be the administrator until the full amount of the funds are distributed? Or is it 5 years?
That's a good question. I'm afraid that that's not one I have necessarily have the answer to. That might, I might have to actually turn around and ask Robin what that means. My understanding is that I would be able to help with the community however and for whenever. But the terms I'm not certain about. I would have to ask.
So we generally don't do resolutions for each hire. So like when we hired the court, that's a resolution. We hire a police officer, it's a resolution. We don't do yearly resolutions. Once they're hired and on board, I don't think it needs to be a resolution, I guess.
Yeah, it then goes into the salary ordinance.
Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
and this is maybe a little different because it's really being paid from a grant that that the borough's getting.
And he'll be an employee of the FCP, not borough.
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay,
yes.
can you be an employee of both?
Maybe.
Just,
That's where we're gonna spend all that money.
just got something
So how
going
much is the
in.
grant? I'm sorry.
It's $125,000 a year for 5 years
For the grant.
for the grant, and this is $25,000, I think, of that grant for the
Is
administrator.
that it?
So
So is that like more of a, I'm sorry. I
Sure.
didn't interrupt. Go ahead with your.
So the grant is 125 each year for 5 years, plus a $25,000 match and other in-kind matches. So, but the grant stipulates that $25,000 of the funding go to hire a person. So,
Is it $25,000 per year, as long as
Yes.
that grant is
Yes.
good, right? Okay.
yes.
Yes.
So it's $25,000 per
And the
year for
other
5 years or
funds,
whatever the case may be.
Yes. The
Okay.
other funds were in the FCP budget under staffing, so it's like a hybrid.
So is this a more of a part-time type of?
This
Or
is
is this
a full-time position,
Okay.
Of which it's really the title was Communications, Operations and Programming Coordinator, which is really a good description of all the hats that the person who will get this job will wear. And part of that is coordinating the activities of the grant.
And who has oversight of this? I know that you're, that you're gonna be oversight, but who has oversight of you? Who's
Kyle
going
will
through
be
this?
my direct support.
Okay,
I work for the FCP Board of Directors. Jeremy
I'm
is.
sorry, what is FCP? I'm sorry,
Flemington Community Partnership.
got it,
And
thank
I'm
you.
really sorry we haven't had a chance.
No, don't.
get to know each other.
No need to be sorry, it's all good. We'll get to know one
I'm
another.
looking
Listen, I worked in
forward
the
to it.
federal government, so acronyms, I just always have to ask because I understand them, right? So once I get it, I got it.
We're the Flemington Community Partnership. We're also known as the Flemington Improvement District. So we're a district management corporation.
Mhm.
And on this grant, the grant was given to the municipality, so we will report to the municipality on how the grant is spent.
One more question, I'm
Sure.
sorry, I have to keep
There
digging.
is an MOU that's.
Okay, because I just have to keep digging until I understand, I'm sorry, I went to the school of stupid, so you just have to work with me.
No, this is
That's
good.
right.
So here's my question then, so the grant is for what specifically? What specifically is this grant for? Because when you say community involvement and all that,
Sure.
I have something else to talk
I can't wait to send you the 90-page report because
about. I'll read it,
it's
I
all
don't have a
in
problem
there.
with that.
It's the Neighborhood Preservation Project,
Mhm.
which is part of the DCA, the Department of Community Affairs,
Okay.
offers a grant. With this grant, you have to, only certain boroughs were designated based on census data. It's an improvement and a revitalization grant. It's not redevelopment, just revitalization and really placemaking. So the funds have to be spent on visible and tangible activities, so
Such
changing
as?
the signs, murals, public art, street improvements, landscaping, lighting. All the theater magic that this town needs, is what this grant will provide,
Okay.
so.
And is there like a
beautification,
list of things and saying, here's the hit list, this is what we want, this is what we want? And is that published or is that something that we talk about? or
We
what-
just,
It is published.
yeah,
Okay.
we presented the implementation plan, which is a 5-year plan, right before you arrived, so, and
You
the-
should have waited.
We have a lot to catch up on, but the Borough Council approved our implementation plan, the MPP approved our implementation plan, and our board and the public has seen the implementation plan.
So here's my question,
Sure,
because when you say public,
yes,
how many people actually know about this? Because if you, I want to go deeper into my question. Because you publish something does not necessarily mean that I have access to it or I get it or whatever the case would be, because I'm just a busy person, right?
Mhm.
So how is that advertised or saying, guess what, this is what we're doing and this grant just happened for us and all that? How does that happen? If I ask my neighbor, do you know about this? Are they gonna be able to tell me yes?
If they live in the south end, I hope they say yes, because we
Which one is
created
the
a
south end?
district.
It's where, like. How would you describe the south end, sort of like Turntable Junction area?
Oh, okay, that is-
Yeah, it's from
okay.
12, from Route 12 down Main Street.
Okay,
Oh, look at this. We did what makes me really excited about this grant is that it requires a lot of process and a lot of, we were required to hold open public meetings. We did a survey and I think we got 374 responses in 2 weeks. And most of those people were from the borough. So I believe people are aware of this.
so again, I'm gonna go back to my question. So if I go back and ask the neighbors that are on Broad Street, for instance, they're gonna be able to tell me they know about this, because here's what I think is really important, and I think this is important whether you take this or if you take this or not, is that there's I moved into the borough and I knew nothing about the borough, right? And I didn't know what was going on in the borough. I mean, the first thing that I did was come and got it, because of historical things I was doing to my house, I had to come to it. But I still didn't get anything, I didn't understand anything I did. So my point to this is that I think this is going to be really, really, really important in terms of communication with the public, business and all that. Because I remember going to businesses, and I used to be a small business advocate, and they would say, can you give us some suggestions, whatever the case may be? And I kept thinking, but how come nobody else knows about this, right? So I guess my point is here, is how is this, everything that you do, how is that, there's this over here, there's this over here, how are you pulling that together between community, businesses, and just letting people know that Flemington exists? Because I think that's the point right there, right? When you talk about revitalization, it's not just about putting a rubber stamp on something. It really is about how do we make it happen, one, but how do we show that it's happened, and how do we get people to brag about it? I think those three different things.
So that is the job of the FCP.
But I understand, but that's what I want to understand is what, I got you. I heard that that was the job description. My point is that how is that going to be communicated? That's my point. And you don't have to give me an answer right now, but that's just my concern.
And
Can we get back to the job interview part?
Yeah, sure.
just.
Because I want him to answer that question.
Yeah, I get it,
A lot of questions there.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the things that's really important to bear in mind is that at the moment, Robin's a one-person band.
Yeah.
My entire career has been working for the visionaries. So the visionary will help set the next 5 years, the next 10 years, set the next stuff, whatever the next things are, moving them forward, and I would be there to help support that. So I think the first step is definitely going to be, to answer your question, what are the methods of communication, and then between Robin and me, if I were to get this position, we would then implement. I would help implement them. I also am new to the borough. I'm learning what the best methodology is to reach everybody, because not everybody has the same, is plugged into the same kinds of things. But that is part of what I'm going to be there to help overcome. That, whether it's, being in everything from, as far as I'm concerned, anything from being in a booth at a fair to talking to people in festivals, to just letting people know what the FCP does, who we are, and what we're going to do to help them, and where they can then learn these things. This level of activity is really exciting for me, and being a part of supporting this level of activity is really exciting for me. So I'm looking forward to putting these plans into place.
So I have a question then in regards to that, because the DCA rules regarding NPP grants are very clear. Very clear, that you are only to work on NPP related stuff. Is that going to be a problem?
I would not assume so. I mean, I would just have to dig into making sure that.
Yeah, you should definitely make sure you do before you sign that dotted line, because the rules are extremely clear on that. It's to, that because you're getting paid out of that grant money for that purpose, that is the purpose of the position. So I have another question kind of along that line. I see you've worked for a couple of universities. So you have a pretty good handle on dealing with bureaucracy. Have you ever had any, beyond the university bureaucracy, have you ever worked with any municipality or state government?
Well, I would say that working at the University of Maryland, not only are you dealing with a university bureaucracy, you're dealing with a bureaucracy that's been set up by a state bureaucracy. So there are levels upon levels of complicating factors. Just getting reimbursed for a credit card purchase could take 60 days, because it wasn't just the university that had to follow its guidelines, but it had to ensure that whatever it is that I was doing followed state guidelines. And sometimes they would ask I'll give you an example. costume shops to use vodka. Yes, the alcohol, it helps air out costumes. So I would sometimes have to buy the cheapest plastic bottle of vodka that I could find. And then it would take 60 days to convince the state and the university that it was above board. I don't even like vodka. So trust me when I tell you that was not something for me, but that's the level of detail that sometimes you have to dig through
Sure.
in some of those instances. So I still think that some of the bureaucracy that I encountered just within the university is worse than any, my dad worked for the federal government for 35 years, worse than any federal government bureaucracy is some of the university bureaucracies I've had to wend my way through.
Hopefully, we're not too bad.
Well, one of the
But it is
advantages,
state grant, so.
well, I know, but one of the advantages of this organization and this this opportunity is you all are my neighbors. You know, it's not like I'm sending things on up a faceless tree of web pages that are then going to come back to me, you know, in my email signed by, you know, an organization. You know, there's going to the ability to interact face to face with people is hugely important to me. That's a huge way of how I get my work done and communicate, because I think talking face to face is much more successful than any other way of trying to accomplish things. So that usually is the way I would want to approach it.
Any other questions, job interview related?
No.
Tony?
No, I think it's all job interview related. I just wanted to hear, I wanted to swing back, because I'm not gonna let you get away with that. But I wanted to swing back because I think it's really important on the communication. You answered my question, so thank you, both of you did. So thank you, because I just think that that's an extremely important piece to this whole job.
Yeah, I would agree.
Anyone else? Thank you.
Thank you.
We could have a motion to, on resolution 2022-117, authorizing the hiring of Kyle Rogers to administer the NJ Department of Community Affairs Neighborhood Preservation Program grant, which was received by Flemington Borough.
Want to move?
Tilly will second.
Any comments?
I just hope he still wants a job after that interview.
Oh, I think you're perfect for it. Seriously, I think you answered it right. I think, I like the enthusiasm.
Well, this town is perfect for me and my family, so I want to try and support it
Great.
in the way it needs to be.
Of course.
Excellent.
And an interview should not be easy anyway.
Yeah.
Mine has never been.
Yes. I had an interview last week, it was 90 minutes.
Shall I call the vote?
You shall.
Okay. Ms. Hand,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you for your time.
Pleasure.
Next up is resolution 2022-119. Authorizing the retention of Beacon Planning to undertake financial analysis of the economic impact of a redevelopment proposal and proposed financial agreement. This would be Liberty Village. We can have a motion.
Tilly will move.
Councilman second.
Any questions, comments? So just to bring up to date, as I mentioned in my report, there will be a committee meeting this week for Liberty Village. I'm hopeful that we are very close to an RDA. At that point, then we start working on the pilot, but before we start really getting into the pilot, it's incumbent upon us to make sure that whatever pilot agreement that we agree to and come up with is both fair for the borough and fair for the development. Andy Janelle, who has done work for us in the past, he did the study with the Courthouse Square stuff. Is familiar with the borough. He's already done a lot of the work. He's already done a lot of the school work and all that, although some enrollment figures have certainly changed in the 3 years since he has done that. But here we are, and it's time to go on to the next one before we get any further in, so we know kind of what we're getting into financially. Any questions, comments? Silly, go ahead and call the vote.
Okay, Ms. Hand,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly.
Yes.
All right, that's approved.
Excellent, that brings us to our second public comment session. If you are a member of the public and would like to make a comment, you can raise your hand using the raise hand icon, which is at the bottom of the screen and the top of your screen, depending upon your operating system. Seeing none, let's move on. Leslie, I'm assuming we don't have an attorney report? Yeah, you're muted, but I read your lips.
No report. Thank you, Mayor.
Good. Do we have any need to go into executive session? And there are no bills to be audited this week, because Bill was on vacation. So we'll have twice as many for me to sign next meeting. Need a motion to adjourn?
I will move. Tilly will second.
All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say no. Any abstentions? We are adjourned at 8:35.
Excellent, thank you so much.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thanks, Leslie.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.
You're welcome to keep that, Tony.
Thank you, yeah, I was gonna ask you if I could.